I am very happy to be here with this particular group of panelists because I've just been thinking about this as story time. And I think we're probably going to hear some good ones tonight. And then we will, of course, open things up to questions from all of you. But we are joined by McKenna Peterson, Forrest Shearer, Hoji. Our patron saint of Gear 30 has come to visit us.
Butte,
First time in the States since COVID.
Yeah.
So,
First time? You never snuck across?
Never snuck across. And I'm really happy to be meeting Rory Bushfield for the first time at this event. Same with Forrest, by the way. So this is really fun for me to get to have this group together. And we're kind of calling this Stories from the Field. And I think most of you are pretty familiar with this group of folks. But yeah, like I said, story time. So to kick this off, what I thought we would do was maybe open with having you each share with us a favorite line of all time. McKenna, you're right here.
Oh, man.
Why don't we start with you?
Okay. Favorite line I've ever skied was, I guess it's going to have to be this beautiful face that I got to ski in Alaska. That was a pretty full-fledged mission, 3 weeks camping on a glacier. Lots of prep work, big mission to climb up this line and access it. We had about 1,000 vert of steep spines to pretty significant bergschrund, and then the beauty of the line was since we were climbing it, we had to get all the way down to valley bottom in order to walk back around to our camp. So after the big, beautiful spine wall that was our mission of the trip, we had about 4,000 vert of glacial travel, navigation, route finding, and actually about 1,000 feet of perfect corn all the way down to a river basin. So that is the coolest line I've ever skied.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a day.
Epic.
Yeah.
Forrest.
Sounds awesome. For me, I'm kind of known for doing some wild missions, off the cuff, saying yes to most things. And I think wildest, raddest line that I'll share was a line that it's down in Chile. It's called Sierra Veluda. I think I got familiar with it from Big Leg Greg Hill when he was doing his 2 mil vert, and he had skied it. So I went down to Chile on a strictly objective-based trip, strictly going for this line, and was able to literally do a trip with, I think, a 72-hour turnaround. Went down, camped out the night before, went and got the line in really good conditions, climbed it.
That's 3 days, 72 hours.
And and then slept back at the trailhead, jumped in the car, drove 10 hours back to the airport, and flew home.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, so pretty rare to get something like that for me, and one of those lines that's pretty exposed and gnarly, and yeah, it worked out pretty well. So
Filmed?
all kind of photo based and drone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Eric, you ever skied anything memorable?
Couple times, I guess.
Couple?
I think, I would have to go with, it's like the bittersweet line. Was that back in 2011, I guess, filming for Matchstick Productions there. They're based here, that's right. And we did a trip to the Meeker area, just north of Pemberton. And not as let's say honorable as you guys. We were using helicopters. But the trip itself was kind of pretty special. Those hot springs up there had been cut off by a giant landslide. I think it's like the second largest landslide in Canada or maybe North America. And we kind of took advantage of that. No one could get in, and we had a pilot who was a bit of a renegade. And Jake, yeah.
Jake.
We were out there for the better part of a month, I guess. But yeah, the Mount Meager north face, it's a proper, yeah.
Nobody skis this.
No, nobody. A few people.
I fly around that mountain all the time and never see tracks.
Yeah. And it's very unstable. Like, it's actually changed a lot. This was over a decade ago, and there's been a lot more. It's constantly shedding, but that was a very good snow year with a good snowpack. But even in the spring there in April, like, we kind of flew around and took a bunch of terrain photos and came up with a plan. And that face was like, we called it like the jewel of the area. Like, if hopefully we'd work our way up into that. And after we put in the time, kind of got to know the snowpack and the lay of the land, was able to get up there on a really perfect day, and just pretty knife edge to get down just to get started. And very committing, like one of those moments where you're like, once you're in it, it's 100% or could be pretty severe consequence. And pushed that, I would say, to my limit. It went very, very well, and it's kind of skied the proper super steep spines, and then got into, like, there's just this long, beautiful spine that goes down like another, it's got to be at least like 1,500 feet, and was just like in celebration mode, and came like over onto the sunnier aspect, more east facing, a bit too hot, and hit the sun crest, and was surprised, and ended up tearing my ACL. And so it was like the highest high to like the lowest low. Yeah, it's in the Hoji film. Yeah, so it was like, I said, it was like I pushed to the absolute limit of like what I think I could do, especially even back then. 10 years ago, I was a bit better than I am now, as we all are. But it wasn't like terrible. I was able to ski out the bottom after some time and like get over the Bergschrund, but that was the end of the season, and that's the first like really season-ending injury I've had in 20-something years. Sorry, I touched the table. And round of shots. But
That was 2 touches.
yeah, that's the one. And I've looked. I was out there maybe last October, and like looking up, and
It's huge.
Yeah,
To perspective, it's like literally the biggest mountain, the biggest face, and it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like any sort of mistake. It's like I've only ever looked at it, man. That's so crazy. You skied that.
that was a good one.
I bet.
The bonus commentary from Rory on Hoji's favorite line, that's money.
Well, he had like I was
We
thinking
skied together since we were 15 years old,
Yeah.
man. Did
It's
big
like-
air comps together.
25 years ago.
39?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I think it was like 2000. Like
Somewhere
99,
around
2000. Yeah.
That's my favorite line, too.
Well, Roy, what else you got?
Well, I got that line that Cody Townsend and Travis Rice shredded, it's like, that's probably my favorite line. I never did that either.
I'm just going to leave, and this is Rory. You take over.
Yes.
But, yeah, those are good lines. It's hard to compete with that. It's like, once I skied a spine in Alaska that it went forever, and I got a couple hits along the way. It might have been a backflip or a 7 that I crashed. That's probably my favorite line of all time.
Okay.
Alaska's hard to beat.
Alaska's hard to beat. Related question. And so you can, if the answer is yes, then we can keep it moving. But so you all just talked about a favorite line, and some of your several favorite lines, Rory. These lines, if we asked the question or tweaked it slightly to favorite day in the mountains or favorite trip, does that lead to a new answer, or do many of these memorable lines is like, yeah, that was the day or that was the trip? McKenna?
You know, that totally changes it. When you ask about the day and the trip, it's going to come down to the people you were with.
Yeah. So
When you ask about the line, it's just the terrain and, well, and your experience there. But So, favorite day. Do I have to start again?
Yeah.
Ladies first.
Last year I did a trip. I was lucky enough to do a trip to Iceland with my family. So I got to take my mom ski touring in Iceland off a sailboat, which was pretty special. And then to keep this short, my little sister is also just becoming a ski guide. So I've been kind of watching her progression on bringing people into the mountains and turning into a ski guide. And on that trip one day, we got my mom to ski a pretty steep couloir. Her first time putting on crampons, probably her first time really boot packing. And I got to watch my little sister guide her into it, guide her up the couloir, and get her down safely with smiles and stoke and find some really good skiing.
That's awesome.
That's my favorite day I can think of
That's pretty
recently.
good.
Yeah.
Good to get the mom skiing.
Mom skiing, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Forrest.
For me, I mean, that's like asking me where my, favorite place to ski or snowboard is. Favorite day. So it's like, I'm going with today. A lot of you guys were at the resort. I got to do a fun little backcountry sesh with 3 other guys and the guides at Irwin. So I'm going to go with today. Kinda just depends.
It was sunny and a snowstorm in one day.
Plus, yeah, and we got to ride some really nice steep lines. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that. So I think it's all relative,
Yeah.
depending on the crew, depending on the vibe, and terrain and weather. So, yeah.
Hoji.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I should have been sitting there, I guess. No, it's hard to. I mean, we're super lucky, and it's been a lot of very good trips, and the recent ones are come to mind, of course, because we just experienced them. But yeah, I think it's impossible to say there's one that's better than the other because it's all about the crew, where you're at, maximizing the conditions, and like they're all, okay, there's some bad trips, of course, where you get skunked or whatever, someone gets hurt. But overall, I think I'm addicted to just going on trips.
Let me, for the two of you, before we get to Rory, when I ask the question though, what pops into mind as, because I get it, I get it, and I hear what you both are saying, but is there one, so we're not going to hold you to this, is like, Hoji said his best trip ever, but there's got to be one that sort of, you find yourself, it pops back into mind, or when the question is asked, a contender.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all relative to you. I mean, when we're snowboarding or skiing and you're in that moment, it's all flow state. So you're very much in the moment. It's happening. And, to Hoji, it's like it's all what happened today or what happened yesterday. We can only kind of go so far back in the memory banks unless it's this risk-defying thing that
Yeah, I mean, the meager
shit goes down.
the meager trip was like, I would say, a once in a lifetime thing, and
Right.
so, and that with that line and being injured like that, I always jump back to that one. And like for this season, I got to visit a good friend in Chamonix, Stian Hagen, and his family, and like hit it with the really nice conditions. And I mean, yeah, it's like you get to go, you end up somewhere and it's happening, like hopefully the next few days here, like first time skiing here, so this could be coming up on the list as well. So
Is this your first time skiing here ever?
yeah,
After all those years?
Yeah.
Of MSP, you never came.
no,
I've been here like 100 times.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, relative to friends and culture and being in a place and, doing new things and, being outside your comfort zone. Outside of today, I was in Japan in January, and it kind of started late this year, wasn't super epic, and when everyone was going right, trying to get snow in a good spot. We just went left and drove 10 hours and went surfing. And then we did snowboard in the same day in the afternoon. So,
Okay.
you know, can't beat that.
Okay. That's pretty good. Rory.
I will go way back.
Yes.
'Cause I got a good memory. It's like,
Yeah.
one of my best days ever was on a huge jump that got built, and it was so big we were too scared to hit it. And my man right here, he was the guy that hit it first. We were just we speed checked it so many times, it was like a mogul field going up the takeoff. And sure enough, Hjorleifson boosts this thing and nails the tranny. Like, right, it was just like the session was on. And that was the day I did my switch double back, my most iconic shot that I was like, yeah. That was thanks to this guy right here. It's like, he opened that jump. There were so many badasses there. Snowboarders too. John Jackson was there. It was like all these dudes, and everyone was too scared to hit that jump. Because we hit it the day before, and it was like 50 feet, and then they moved it back to like a ridiculous amount. Mike Douglas did that. He moved it back, and then he went home. And this guy hit it, and was like,
Yeah, it was.
you open it up.
That was good.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, and I remember that whole thing.
That was a good day for me,
But
man. I had a really good day.
You had the best day. And,
Yeah.
But they made the jump, and all the pro people were like, "Oh, it's
Dude, well, it was back
not-
in step down
not
days.
that
You know,
big.
not when they made them like that. It was like that. It was
then-
like if you hit the knuckle, you were gonna break both your legs.
Yeah,
And he went first.
but they moved it back, like doubled it, kind of thing, and just to be like, okay, let's show these guys, like, you want a big jump, here it comes. And yeah, I was I can't remember, I was sitting on the side, I didn't even do the speed checks, but I was watching.
You speed check once or twice.
I was watching, and I was like, I could see it though. Like I could see it, and but the best part was like Rory, in his classic way, had like the most beat down, like his like he could barely slide in the spring,
Oh, yeah,
getting
my
slushy.
my skis have hit a lot of rocks. It was the end of the season.
Yeah, it was the end. Like never been tuned, and he was starting like hundreds of feet above everyone. And I remember you had your giant like 5-liter like bottle of juice that was you filled with water, and you're just up
It was
there,
my marker. Yeah.
yeah, drinking, and you threw it on the snow. And then I remember you're like, okay, you're on your phone,
Call my mom.
your flip phone,
Yeah.
like, hey mom, yeah, talking to your mom
Well,
for
she-
like 10
yeah,
minutes,
yeah.
and then you're like, okay, mom, the helicopter's in the air, I gotta go, and you like shoved your phone in your pocket and just pinned it and jumped switch, and we're just like, no one had hit it switch, no one, and he's starting from like, his speed is not relative to everyone else is like starting at the same place. So the skis were so badly prepared.
You remember it differently.
Yes, I remember everything. And he went in switch, and then it was just like this huge double backflip. It was the most like the best, by far the best trick of the day.
Thanks to you, buddy. Thanks for opening that jump up.
I'm lost. I don't even know if I asked it. Did I actually ask Rory the question? Or
Yeah, best day skiing.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That was. I'm spent. All right. That was amazing. Okay, we started doing this thing, I guess, the very end of last year, where we started a segment on our Gear 30 podcast called Crashes and Close Calls. And so we've been talking about this, and part of it is we've been trying to get people thinking about, like, oh yeah, like some form of accident insurance, probably a wise thing. And so that's what prompted it, and I've really, really come to enjoy not just gnarly crash stories, but also some of the close calls where it's like, okay, I got away with one there. But I figured you all might have a particularly memorable, say, biggest crash. Mm-hmm. Why don't we start with Rory on this one? Yeah, we're going to work our way back. Rory, you've crashed once
Worst
or
crash
twice?
I ever had again. I was with this guy.
Wow.
And we were standing on a cornice, and we're getting all ready, and I have my boots all undone, and my jacket's open. And we're like, is it going to be good? It's a pretty minor face, but it's like still pretty big. And we're getting ready, and I'm like sort of peeking. I want to get a little bit of a closer look, and the cornice breaks. Jacket open, boots undone. It's like nothing good. And like Hjorleifson and Rubens, if I remember correctly, jump up the hill and they like get on the other side of the cornice, and I like ride this chunk of snow down the hill as far as I can. I'm like hop off. I'm riding on one foot, and my foot is like the classic like one ski in the air, like slow motion. And I end up just tommying as hard as I've ever tommied my whole life. I tommy off like a 40-foot cliff. And I land perfectly backwards on my feet and just explode my knee to pieces. And it was, Eric helped me get on my snowmobile and strap me on to the sled, and I rode out of there. But it was a horrible crash, man. I would rather never do that again.
Was it just the knee?
Yeah, just my knee was all that went down. Yeah. There's more to the story if you want to hear it.
I mean,
Yeah, let's hear more of the story.
The only guy that saw the crash, because this cameraman were setting up and these guys were on top as a rollover, was some random snowmobiler. And this is during the when doctors were prescribing OxyContin to everyone. So this guy comes over and he's like, "You want these painkillers?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like I'm like 20. I'd never tried a painkiller." It's like very few injuries, and he gives me these 2 OxyContins, and I was like, I'm hurting pretty bad. I take one, and I ride my snowmobile all the way to the truck, like as slow as I can. I get to the truck, I'm still in so much pain. I eat another one, and I was just like, no, don't feel nothing, you know. I was like, park this to get into the truck, and I'm sitting there, and I got there before Riley, who was with us, and Riley was like, I roll a joint, and I take one puff of this joint, and these OxyContins kick in, man. And it was like I was on another level, like throwing up out of the truck all the way to the hospital. It was like, get to the hospital, they're like, "What's wrong with this kid?" It's like he crashed and blew his knee. It was like, why is he white and sweating? Like, it was like, it was so bad. It was a bad day. It was a really bad day. That was my worst crash.
Yeah. Yep.
Multi-level crash.
Yeah, it was bad. And my knee's good now. Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, they button it up.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, a couple screws. Yeah.
All right, Hoji.
Yeah, wait,
Worst crash, buddy.
Worst. That's I can't. I don't have a good story like that. People are asking me about crashing, and I'm like, well, once a few years ago, I put together a crash reel from 20 years of footage. That was 5 minutes of consecutive tomahawk.
That's true.
And every time I think about that, editing that segment and watching it, never made it. And then when I get up in the morning and I can put my socks on, I'm pretty happy about that.
I feel like I want to interject one question. Tomahawking is exhausting. Just to act like, even if you are fortunate enough to not be hurt, it's like wild tiring. Does everybody know that already? Or I feel like that's not really talked about as much.
I think saying exhausting and tiring is under.
Say more.
You're understating it.
Yeah.
Like the amount of G-force that you're...
Yeah, wasn't there that edit a while back where people just kept tomahawking into space? People got moving from the free ride route too.
Callum's hole.
Okay, so you think exhausting is understating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
Well, when you can't put your... Imagine you can't bring your arms to your head to protect it. Like, that takes a lot of force.
We're past that.
It's like tearing little things apart in your body.
Yeah.
It's like little micro injuries everywhere.
I saw a guy Tommy so hard he lost his jacket and backpack. Just gone.
What about ski boots? Have you ever seen anyone come out of their ski boots?
I think it helps with the Tommy.
Tommy out of the ski boots. That'd be amazing.
Be
Okay.
amazing.
All right, Forrest, you're up.
That is incredible. I mean, there's been so many, it's hard to pick one, But I mean, for me, it's like, I'll take another spin on this, and it's like, if you're crashing, if you're not crashing, you're not learning, So I think you have to take, like, if I want to try something, double back, whatever, a big trick off Chad's Gap or whatever, you got to crash in order to make it. You know, yeah, it's so rare that your mindset is that perfectly and just well put, thought out that you're going to stick it and stomp it right away. Not if you're Rory, maybe.
I was not trying at all. I just fell through a cornice. It was just bad luck, like a couple times in one day.
You know, and then we're here at the Blister Summit, and it's very product oriented. So I think crashing is very much in line with making a sick product. In order to keep evolving and making rad products, you have to crash and try in order to make stuff that's going to be better for the planet and it's going to last longer, right?
So then I guess I'm hearing you say you have a Chad's Gap story.
Not a crash, but we have a Chad's Gap for sure. I mean, that's up there with best line.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I got a great. What's the next one?
What is the next one?
Oh, a close call. I got a great
Close call. Yeah.
Well, let's hear it.
You want to go close call?
Let's go.
Okay, so now we're kind of going more into expeditions, and a lot of us are kind of venturing out. Sick line, but we're more thinking about a bigger mountain, going up to, over 20,000 feet, checking stuff out. So for me, it's like, I think in 19, we went to Denali, a crew of us, all snowboard crew. Took Ian Walsh up there for his first time, myself, Danny Davis, Nick Russell. And I think in the process of packing my bags in Talkeetna, getting on the plane and getting out to the field, and I think I made it up to Camp 1. And I'm searching through my bag, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't have a sleeping bag. No, my pad. It was my pad, actually. So no pad. And everybody's like, oh, you'll be fine. You'll sleep on the
You
ropes.
think it'd be fine.
Yeah, we'll sleep on the ropes.
It's not
We're up there
fine.
for 3 weeks. And yeah, it wasn't going to happen. Luckily, there were some other friends that were going into the field. Adam Fabricant, Noah Howell. They were on another objective. Luckily, I was able to in-reach them, get my pad, but it was back at the airbase. So I had to go ski, 20 miles by myself from like Camp 3 back down to go get the pad. So all the way down, middle of the night, get down, see a couple other climbers, some other friends. Michael Gardner, they were on another mission. Fed me some food, gave me some fuel, and sunset and jet backed up. Luckily, I had a good podcast and some books to keep me going. And made it back up to Camp 3 and continued to stay out there for another 3 weeks and snowboard every line on the mountain that was rideable that year.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think that had been done since 2002 or 4 when Dav was up there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So close call, best trip ever.
Yeah.
There you go. Combining.
Yeah.
It's all coming together. McKenna, biggest crash.
I don't crash.
Nice. Exactly. Pro.
True, bro.
You guys. Yeah.
No, I do, but I don't really have a great story.
You don't? Okay. Do you have a better close call story?
Again, same thing. How many close calls do you think that we've had that we don't really
A
know?
billion is the answer.
Yeah. So
But
You
but the skied away from, or you just lucked out. Again, she's like, I don't crash and I'm never out of control because I'm a professional. Duh.
no, I mean there have been some close calls. There have been some, mostly avalanche related. Either choosing to back off a line and actually getting the positive feedback of, I'm glad you backed off the line because it did just rip, which does not happen very often. More often than not, you back off and then you're like, shit, was that the right idea? Maybe I should have just gone for it. And you don't get that feedback and that reinforcement. So it's honestly kind of nice when you have those moments of, I'm not feeling this, either helicopter come pick me up or I'm not going down there. And then something does happen. It makes you, feel like you're making good decisions. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury most of the time. So I'd say most of my close calls were making the wrong decision to ski something and getting away with it and getting lucky, and then after the fact realizing that I should not have been there in the first place.
Or maybe the other way around. Like when
It's
you
the
stepped
opposite
off
of yours.
and it slid.
Exactly.
Well, you stepped off and it slid, so that was a close call. And you made a good call.
Right, that's when it's,
Yeah.
Close call, good
Good.
call. That's
Yeah.
a close call, good call. Okay. Maybe I'm gonna say, all right. How about close calls not involving avalanche conditions? But you can veto me on that if you prefer.
Close calls.
Roy's got a billion of
I'm
these.
sure he's pretty sore.
Well, every day you should have a close call. Or else you really you live it.
Moms
Like on my way here, I
everywhere.
had a close call. You always have them.
Every day you should have a close call. Yep.
That's
I
what
told you
Sarah-
we
that's what
started
Sarah
this
said.
because we wanted to talk about accident insurance. Like that's what started this segment. Yeah. Apparently every day you need to go have a close call. You heard it here from Rory, so
It'll help you.
it'll
You
help
get better with close calls, right? They're way better than the close call that goes wrong. Close calls are the best because you get away with them,
I mean,
right?
I think that's sound logic. I don't know how.
Pretty sure that's logic.
Okay.
You could find a lot of close calls on this mountain jumping off blind rollovers.
There's a lot of blind rollers
There's a
up there.
lot of blind
Yeah.
takeoffs, and then you land, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I just got really lucky.
That was a close call.
Yeah, that's a close call.
Yeah. All right. Well, is that what you're leaving it at, Rory? We don't get a specific.
Close call?
Yeah.
I could give a story of a
Let's
close
go.
call. All right, here we go. My friend asked me to move his plane from one airport to another because he didn't have a pilot's license. He bought a plane first, and I did. But I went on a little joyride, you know, as you would, and I flew around this mountain a bunch of times. And then the next morning, would you know, my buddy Mason is up on that mountain. He's asking me to get up early in the morning and do this shot by the mountain. And I was just there. But I switched planes to a heavier one, like I fly in my plane. And I get out there, and I was doing the same pass. And I was coming around, and I just made a shitty fucking call. And was just like so close, man. I was like, I went, instead of going straight through, I was like, I can make this turn. And I was like, I almost didn't make the turn, man. And it was that's the closest call I've ever had. It was like, I was very thankful to make it. It's like, I made the turn, but barely.
Do you think you have a fairly accurate sense of like how far?
I was very close.
Okay.
Did you close your eyes?
No, but I couldn't see it. I can't see much of an airplane.
Yeah.
Right.
You see this, but down there, that's where you're gonna hit.
So on the metric system, you were very close.
I was very close.
Okay.
Canadian metric system.
Yeah. Okay.
That was close. But like I said, it's like we were fine, and I learned from it.
And you should have one of
And
those
you
every
should
day.
have one every day.
Okay. Hoji.
Impressive.
You've had so many.
I've had.
This guy skis mountains like 3 times faster than the guy in front of him.
I mean, all my close calls that I can think of at the moment involve avalanche problems, I would say, because they stick out as like,
Yeah.
you gotta, like you're caught and it turned out all right. I can't think of something. Those ones stand out, so.
Well, give us an avalanche story then.
Yeah, the painful truth. I think the most the recent one that stands out and was certainly a close call was it must have been like 2016 maybe. Seems like the not so distant future when you're old like I am, or distant past, let's say. But yeah, we went up to the Freshfield ice field just outside of Golden. Bunch of good friends to film and ski, and we kind of got tricked into this early spring. Felt like everything was setting up nicely, and went for this objective that was pretty east facing, like super early, nice alpine start, long distance to get there, motivated, and got there and realized, okay, yeah, it's the air temperature didn't get cold enough, it's already in the sun, and so we made the mature decision to just like, all right, it's not going to happen today. and kind of splintered into a bunch of little groups to see what we could do. Some people just went skiing for fun. My buddy Chris Rubens and I were like, oh, well, there's something right here. Let's get a shot. It was just this little north-facing col, like steep with the Bergstrand, and had this like really nice beam of like just the sun was just coming through the notch and hitting it. And yeah, just kind of like I think we let our guard down because the snow was so firm that you were basically not penetrating at all deep into the snowpack with your boots or your skis. And also because we had such like a kind of bigger objective at the beginning of the day that we'd canceled, we're just like, oh, we'll make the most of this right here, good light, and go and do it. And yeah, so we started booting up, and we kind of went around this schrund, and it was pretty fat actually. It didn't seem that bad, and put the filmer like underneath because that was the angle, and it wasn't a very big slope, but yeah, I got up there booting. I was in front because I'm a bit stronger than Chris normally, and I started. The snow changed from
Stronger
like
than everybody.
you're basically like just like barely leaving divots in the snow with your ski boots to like suddenly I'm sinking up to my knees, and then it's getting like it's the Rockies. It's that classic. You're getting up to the ridge top. It starts changing, but it felt really bad. Like suddenly I was like, I don't know, Chris, this doesn't feel good. And he's like, let me, like I want to feel what you're feeling. He's a couple meters behind me, and like he climbed up and like kind of as he was passing me, like this giant plate, like the whole slope just failed, and like because it was unsupported because the schrund was so much bigger than we could see, and it was like a meter like down to an old crust, and totally we were just surfing with our skis on our backpacks, and like we're just sliding backwards. And I remember looking over my shoulder and watching this giant plate of snow just like exploding into this gaping schrund that we underestimated, and it was like it felt like an eternity of just like sliding backwards a couple 100 feet and just like trying to preload your feet, and just like when it comes time you're gonna have to jump as high and as hard as you can, and like really we did somehow. I guess he did too, and like I just remember like jumping in the air and then like felt like getting hit by a car or something. Not that I've done that, but like wind knocked out if you can't see everything black, ribs hurt, everything hurts, and then tomahawking and then like ending up in the classic avalanche debris just like stuck. But like the surface was like I wasn't buried, and just like the struggle fest, like it instantly set up and kind of pushed out, and the filmer had to run for his life. His gear was all taken out, and like he was in a really bad spot too. He was okay. And then Chris also, like once I got out, he was in the exact same situation, but we both made it over that schrund, and if we didn't, I wouldn't be sitting here neither, and neither would he. And also the filmer, like if he got, even if we were just like a meter less under the snow and he was taken out too, because everyone else is like splintered around just kind of doing their own thing. And yeah, we got super lucky. Like I kind of was banged up, and Chris too, but no real injuries. But like that was like a big eye opener of like you let your guard down, you're just like, oh, we'll just make the most of this, because you had something so much more intense in mind and you turned off of that. So, and also like the hard slab, like when you're barely divoting in the snow and then suddenly change, like it just caught us off guard, and like we hadn't seen anything. We were only worried about like solar aspects getting baked out and things changing rapidly. So yeah, that was a close call.
Damn, dude. I never heard that one.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting gears in a big way.
Okay.
Most starstruck moment in your professional careers. Ever had one?
I mean,
Right now?
it's pretty cool.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, I suspect this would typically be pretty early on in your careers, but except unless it's today, right now. But you ever have those moments? Rory.
When I was 13, maybe, my coach at the time for mogul skiing was good friends with JP Auclair. And he's like, yeah, we're going to grab JP. We're going to go skiing for the day. I was like, come on. Like, all right. And he did. He picked me and JP up. We went skiing for the day. And I remember just not even being able to, like, say anything. You know, I was, like, silent on the chair. It's like just following this guy around. At the end of the day, he gave me a pair of Oakley goggles. I was very starstruck.
Forrest?
Yeah, I'll kind of take, I get to hang with a lot of rad people that inspire me and push us to kind of be better snowboarders and skiers, better people. For me, I'd kind of go to kind of the elder, area of meeting someone like Jerry Lopez or Jim Zellers, who is kind of a pioneer snowboarder for North Face, who kind of got to do a lot of the major expeditions around the world, and just kind of seeing them still going and thriving, and
It's amazing.
It was incredible. And it's just like when you're touring with someone like that and they're just so far ahead on the skin track and you're like, what's going on? Yeah, what are they eating? What are they drinking? So I think any time that you kind of get to be around someone like that, that fire and stoke is just still so alive. And whether they're reinventing kind of the way they're getting after it, or that they just still are, just enjoy being in the mountains and want to keep doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hoj?
I mean, I would go with JP as well. Like, had like the Solomon 1080 poster, and like we were in the
Big
perfect
impact on the
we
Alberta boys.
were in the perfect place and time, and I got to meet him a bunch over the years, and then I guess I wasn't starstruck, but like eventually 10 years later, like got to work with him up on the Blackcomb Glacier at the High North camp, and like it's that kind of like you just really want to grab onto that person and like tag along, and like, but it was natural. Like I got to ski with him, and like we would just every day at lunch, like, all right, time to do some backflip laps, and like everyone else, a lot of people were dealing with probably doing their job, and we would just go up and like, because the T-bar line was quiet because people were taking a break, and we just like hot lap, couple laps of just like backflip training, and that was like, that stands out in my mind as like really like a special moment where you get to.
He was really good to younger folk,
Yeah.
JP, man. Like he knew how iconic he was to us. It was like when Hoji and I were coming up as skiers, there was no, it was like we had JP and JF Cousin and Vinny Dorian, and these guys were our fucking heroes, man. Like, it was so sick to get to meet them. And you're right, dude. It's like, they were so good to us.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's cool. You got McKenna?
That's funny. I was just like thinking, listening to them about inspiration and growing up and people that made an impact when I was a kid. And I had a similar story with Peekaboo Street, actually. When I was like maybe 10, 11 years old, I skied with her for a day on Sun Valley. And that was so cool. She paid attention to me.
Yeah.
She like gave me tips on my skiing. I idolized her big time.
That's cool.
Yeah. Hadn't thought about that forever. That was great.
That's great. Let's open this up to some questions. So the question is, have there been in your careers any pivotal moments that led to a bit of a redirection or a pivot or shift in terms of, I'm just going to leave it open-ended like that.
Can I just redirect this one to Hjorleifson? Because I've always wondered this. It's like, when did you decide you were going to be the boot master? And start being this crazy? Because when we used to ski together, you didn't, it's like you cared about boots. But this happened after we were like super tight. It's like you became the boot master.
At some point, I decided I'd really like hurting people.
All right.
No, I mean, I immediately thought of this kind of stuff with the question there. Thank you. For me, the turning point for that kind of side of things was like getting the opportunity first with the Forefront brand, and like getting into the somehow an opportunity as a very young person, and like a desire, like you could think back 20 years ago almost, skiing as we know it didn't really exist. And equipment this was like this golden age, I keep calling it, where like the paradigm shift of like guys like McConkey and JP and these, like all these new things, twin tips, fat skis, everything, like it somehow it had existed in the past in different ways with freestyle and heli skiing and all this, but it was like these characters that had like a public, you know, they were heroes, and they took those chances and pushed it, and like that was a very exciting time in the sport. And it came from snowboarding actually, because like when we were young, skiing was like, I was like a figure skater in my high school. Like it was not accepted as like something you do actually. And but yeah, then to be in that time, and then to have the small brands coming, and then to get to work with one, and like the opportunity to like, well, what do you want?
Right.
You know, like everything's changing. Everything, you don't even know what you want. But that was like the big shift, is like, well, I got to figure out what I want, and I want to be like that, go like this, go fast. And then once you got in with skis, like suddenly you work on something, and good or bad, you know, like you make an improvement, and then suddenly your skiing improved. And like this cycle of trying things and finding kind of improvements, allowing you to improve what you can do, that was kind of the turning point for me. And started with skis, and then ski boots came a few years later, of course. And really trying to, what I like is trying to find these like problems, or like why don't I like this, or why do I really like this? And yeah, I've been very lucky to work with these brands and get the opportunity and really push on it, and some of the results are all right, I guess.
Yeah, they are. Remember when you took my trekkers and trimmed like 3 grams off of them?
Yeah.
Like they didn't last long.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about all of that is like trekkers, you know, and people.
Used to be trekkers.
Like
That's how we
I
got
did
around.
10 years on trekkers, and the walk mode was in the ski boots was you took the Velcro spoiler off the back of your liner. So we're pretty lucky now.
Yeah, we are.
How about the rest of you? Any pivotal moments of pivoting or redirection?
I think we're going to have a lot of those, you know, throughout your career. It's kind of fun. It's fun to be changing and learning something new and trying something new and trying something different. So I'm sure we all have a lot of them. You know, coming here for the Crested Butte Extremes when I was 19, huge pivotal moment in my life, and probably the start of my ski career. I didn't win the competition, but it opened my eyes to a style of skiing that I didn't really know about on a mountain that was super steep and technical and really fun. And that was pretty pivotal.
Yeah, I think for me, kind of going and in my evolution of my snowboarding, going from park to building the biggest backcountry kickers for me in Utah, and eventually finding splitboarding. And that was for us, totally thinking outside of the box, and, stepping into that unknown and pivoting per se to, are my sponsors still going to support me if I just go, full left turn here and do something that, they're not going to be stoked on. But continuing to pursue that, and, it's almost coming full circle that in terms of doing things that you love and wanting to pursue those, But splitboarding also provided this, it created this space for me to be on the skin track and thinking about product, thinking about how, I could, help influence change with, Patagonia, with Jones on making better product that, would last longer. Thanks to Jeremy with Deeper, Further, Higher, with splitboarding, I was fortunate to be a part of those. And splitboarding was around prior to that, but that was kind of just this smoldering amber of a fire, and that was just throwing lighter fluid on it. All of a sudden, it was this thing, and that kind of, I felt, helped lift up the backcountry community, and it continued to provide this push and pull of ski products get better, splitboard products get better, and evolution of making stuff that's, I feel, for me, it's you can get as technical as you want, but you could make stuff that has less moving parts, that's going to break less, and in turn going to get you up to the top of the mountain and be shredding more. And
So the question is, who or what inspires you in 2023?
That kid Max that double backs in his freeride world tour line, man.
love that.
That's sick. That inspires me big time. Right? Double back his run?
I watch it whenever I watch the Freeride World Tour.
Blown away, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, just makes me feel like I'm hanging on way too hard I should move out of the way for these young people.
You're building them boots, man. You did your part.
Forrest?
There's video game tricks being thrown out there now. It's like we're, whatever, Pro Border 3, it's like it's happening all the time.
That kid that
Knuckle
did a
hucks.
switch double back off the knuckle at the
Right.
X Games.
Yeah.
Jesper.
It's incredible.
That kid's like,
Jesper's sick for
yeah,
sure.
he made the hero list. When he
Yeah,
did it.
I don't know. For me, I think it's a lot of the brands that I'm seeing right now that are like willing to take a risk to kind of put themselves out there to make a better product, or again to fall and get back up and keep that evolution going of making stuff that's gonna be better for the planet. Yeah.
McKenna?
I'm inspired by the tracks that I see out in the backcountry that are pretty aggressive and pretty well done that nobody talks about or posts a photo on Instagram about.
Same.
Yeah.
Big time. When you look out, you see
You
those
see
tracks.
something, you're like, oh,
who
yeah.
did that?
So,
Yeah.
Hoj?
I think lately I've been inspired by a bunch of folks, but I'm going in a renaissance to like just utilizing the amazing like lift systems that exist in the world and
Doppelmayr.
getting Doppelmayr stores. Those heated leather seats. No, just to make the most out of like whatever condition and just go and have fun and like getting back into like resort skiing where I have alpine setup and like just like working on actually like proper technique instead of just wiggling around in powder all the time.
Yeah, bringing it back to the
Yeah.
fundamentals.
Which is how we all think of you.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody's just
But
wiggling
it's like
around.
it's like a rediscovery of like learning that 20, 30 years ago almost, and like taking a big sabbatical from that, let's say, and then getting back into it, and like the gear's still the same. It's the same boots, same bindings. Okay, the skis are much better, but yeah, it's been fun, and that's actually been pretty inspiring, and I think it ultimately will help me improve my skiing.
Yeah, how cool is that to see a great turn?
Yeah.
Someone just ripping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun without any, like, it's carefree fun. Like, you don't have to worry about the mountain trying to kill you. Or
Right. Yeah, bringing
planning
it back to
logistics, or like you just show up early and get there before the tourists and make a few good runs on the perfect, they burned all the diesel to make it that way, so you might as well do something.
The question is, how do you manage fear? And let's put it this way. If you don't have a very specific approach, methodology to this, we'll move it on. But do any of you have like, yes, this happens, and this is my process?
Breathing.
I get only scared before, never during. It's like before, super scared. And yeah, you just got to go, man. You got to push through that fear and have a close call every day. It's important, man. Yeah, after you're scared again, and then you have bad dreams, and you're like, but it's over, you're alive. You know?
Forrest or Hoji, specific approach, discipline?
I mean, the fear is actually especially in younger times, that's like the addiction actually is
I don't know
pushing
if you guys
yourself.
remember this guy's movie segment. He was like, if you ain't scared, it won't make the movie. It's like,
That
you
came from-
live by that.
That
dude.
came from Hugo
Oh,
Harrison,
fair
yeah,
enough,
and
fair enough.
it was true. Like, it's that fine line of like challenging yourself to the absolute maximum of what you could understand that you think you could do, and processing that down and making the decision to do it because you believe in your abilities and you're relying on your past experiences. And that process is like, we talked about this a bunch, but that actually was like, for me, it's less and less now, but that's what I like the most is like, then you're really like maximizing your human potential in a very specific way. And those are the moments that like you're observing in like 300 frames a second and they're burned into your brain. You'll never forget them, hopefully.
Pivotal?
Well, it's just like the most intense and like the most, yeah, you're like really in that moment. There's nothing else that you could ever, that would distract you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then when you, it's a circle, like you pull it off and then your reward, like the satisfaction is as high as it gets, and you want to do more.
Yeah,
But without going too far.
for sure. I think fear is what drives us all to doing what we want to do, you know? And I think, you know, obviously I'll have a plan A to a plan Z in terms of shit hits the fan. But yeah, I think that's what we thrive off and what keeps us going and pushes us for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you know.
So the question is, do you have a favorite story from a skier board test or R&D trip that you ever went on?
Those can't be told here.
You might be right. You might be right. Give me some fireworks.
That's a good way to end it.
Some fireworks. Well, McKenna Peterson says that's a good way to end it.
Give the
So
kids some fireworks.
thank you all. It's a
Thanks, guys.
Hey, let me just say, it's a real pleasure having all of you here. And yes, it's very cool, the things that y'all can do in the mountains. But to get to connect on a very personal level and get to know the people, it's really, really fun and cool. And we're really grateful to have you all here. So thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Shots, ski shots.